Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the live stream. Hey, great to have you back. And I have some super exciting news. GT3 RS, GT3, all great cars. But wait a minute. There's a new car. It's just been announced, and it's even better. I don't want the GT3. Well, maybe I do. We all want GT3s, right? We all want those great track focused cars. GT3, GT3 RS are truly the benchmarks. But guess what? There's a new crazy, insane car that Toyota is just coming out with. And I want to talk about that today because I just can't believe the kind of products just when we didn't expect it. We were seeing all these little turbo hybrid 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder engines from Toyota. We're seeing these minivans and small SUVs and trucks that are blowing engines. And yet Toyota has come out with something absolutely incredible. But let's talk about that today because I truly think that there's something very exciting going on waiting for Toyota and waiting for you and I. The question is, it's a sports car, and would you buy this over a GT3? Well, I love this thing. So I want to share this with you, and I want to go through this a little bit because I think there's some great opportunities here coming up with some cool cars. And I want to kind of walk you through this because I just came across this article here on Motor Trend, and I've been kind of studying. I was out of town a little bit here in the last week or so, and I'm back. And I want to talk about some of these things because there's such great cars. But again, good morning, everybody. It looks like anybody there? I see lots of people watching. Some thumbs up. Can you guys hear me? Everybody okay over there? Can you hear me? If somebody wants to drop a line down in the comments section, it would be great to hear from you all. Again, welcome back so much. Yes, awesome. Cool. Welcome again, Mr. Turbo Rotary. I appreciate you popping in there, and I'll just reply back. So thanks for reaching out from New Jersey. Great stuff from New Jersey. How's the weather down there? I mean, we just got a blast, a wintry blast here down in the prairies. It is nasty. But I hear they're getting a storm down on your side of the country. I'm not sure, but it seems pretty interesting. The weather's finally hitting us. So cold. Yeah, 100%. So I came across this news article, and I want to talk about, everybody talks about those cars like the GT3 RS. And for some reason, as good as they are, I got to believe that there's always something a little bit more unique that just never gets the fanfare. So let's talk about that. The Sunday we may have snow. Loud and clear, Atlanta, Georgia. Awesome. Thanks there, Daryl. That's great. Great to hear because I've had some technical problems here before and went away. So I decided to do a live stream on the full screen here. So hopefully this is going to work out a little better. But I want to talk about some of these cars. Flora, Belgium. Hey, good morning or good afternoon. Depends how you look at it. You're probably a few hours ahead. So you're probably late afternoon by now, I'm assuming, or early evening. Thanks for joining in. Yes, right on. So I guess what I want to talk about and see what your take is, because I'm going to need all of you to really kind of dive in and answer this question. Is this, in fact, the car that can knock down the kings of the performance? I mean, we're hearing all of these performance cars. Porsche's coming out, and there's constantly revising the Turbo S, the GT3s. And now, of course, Porsche, with all their EVs, they've decided to sort of retract on Macans and Caymans and not go pure EV. They've said, the customers are looking for some gas engines. So it's exciting to hear that some of these manufacturers, including Toyota, are realizing that, hang on, pump the brakes a little bit. I think we need to bring back what customers are looking for, people that are really looking for fun cars. Inside of Russia, I enjoy your videos. Thanks again, and I appreciate you stopping in today. How are things over there? Everything kind of hopefully a little warmer there than here, because I think we're sitting around minus 20 here Celsius where I'm at. So hopefully things are a little bit better. No, but either way, but either way, wherever you're from, hopefully the weather's treating you a little better than it is here. But I want to get your takeaway because I want to walk through this, and maybe if I can share a screen, I'm going to try to share a screen with all of you all, because I truly believe that this is worth looking at. Now, Motor Trend had this great article that is, let me just see here, share the screen, and hopefully, let me just see here. Let's see if you can. Okay, are you guys able to see this screen? Everybody good here? Able to see the screen that I'm going through? Can you just give me a green light or a thumbs up on that, everybody? Hopefully you can see it because I'm looking at it right now. And Motor Trend, shout out to Motor Trend. They put together a great documentary on this and a summary of one of the greatest cars coming out, I think, in the next couple of years. And this is going to be really exciting. So anybody, you want to give me a thumbs up or a green light that you're able to see this video or this picture? Hopefully you can see the picture-in-picture on this. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Henry. Okay, so let's go back and take a look here, shall we? And so I just want to get into this whole new series of cars that we're looking at. And again, shout out to Motor Trend, but we're looking at, have you heard of Toyota coming out now with the latest, the GT? We also are looking at the GT3 race car and an LFA concept. That's right, everybody. Remember the LFA was that hot rod supercar that caught on slowly, had that V10, one of the fastest revving, coolest cars. That's one of those cars that I've always really wanted, but I never really had the resources to buy one. I thought they're always amazing. But guess what? Looks like Toyota's bringing back some of the old goodies. Now, a lot of people are wondering, what does this new car look like? The GT is what a lot of people are kind of curious now, because this is the latest, the GT. And I'm going to go through a series of these models because there is a different cars that we can look at here, because this, in fact, is what we're dealing with, something that is actually hitting the radar here coming up here, probably in 2027, 2028, that we're looking at something that looks to promise to hopefully dominate over some of the competition. And this looks super exciting because what we have here is a car now that there's a combination of efforts from what I've been reading. There's a combination of naturally aspirated V8 engines that are high revving and huge output, and power to weight ratio that actually beats a GT3. Now, according to the statistics that we're finding in Motor Trend, they put together this great information that we're looking at a car that may in fact have 641 horsepower and 3,800 and some pounds of curb weight. Now that gives us an average of 6 pounds per horsepower. Now what does that mean? Who cares? What it means is the less pounds you have to haul around for every horsepower, the faster the car is generally going to move. I mean, weight is performance's biggest nightmare, right? So 6 pounds per horsepower. But how does that rank with some of the big dogs? Well, let's look at this chart here, shall we? According to this chart, we're looking at the GT has a 6 pound per horsepower at 641 horsepower. But when I talk about a reference to a GT3, Porsche's 2026 brand new 911 GT3 is 6.2 pound per horsepower. With 500 horsepower, it's less power, less weight, but it's actually fighting a little bit more weight. It's kind of dragging along. Now you compare that with cars like the 911 Turbo S at 5.5, but we know those are one of the hardest launching, fastest accelerating cars, all-wheel drive, 700 ponies. I mean, that's going to be a hard car to beat. But AMG GT Pro, 7.1. So again, the higher the number, generally the slower the car. Not always the case, but often that is the case because you're hauling around more weight per power. Aston Martin Vantage S at 5.7 might be a little bit more brisk, but the GT promises to have a significant power to weight ratio, 641 horsepower. I mean, that's no joke. Let's just see here. What do you say? I wonder if this is related to Toyota returning to F1. Not with the team yet, but involved for sure. Possibly, yeah. There's definitely some racing efforts here, and we'll get into some of that detail. Let's get a better looking Supra. Porta potty mouth in the little I see. Okay, well, let's keep going, everybody. And let's just scroll on down. Now, it seems highly likely the GR-GT will be priced at more than 200 grand. Now, could that be the downfall? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments, everybody. Please do drop a line, because when a brand like a Toyota, it doesn't have the supercar brand name, but some people like it for that. It's like the Corvette is punching way above its weight class. Everybody compares a Corvette to a Ferrari, and yet with a car like a ZR1 or ZR1 XX, it's actually faster than most Ferraris, right? Now, some people say, well, a Ferrari is still a Ferrari and there's the heritage and all of that, but you can't deny the performance. And the same thing is going on here. But that being said, Toyota, where they carry on the GR-GT, the Lexus branding sort of ushers in that higher level, right? So utilizing a branding like an LFA or something along the Lexus line does elevate it to another level. So it doesn't feel like you're driving around in just a Toyota. And I use that word very cautiously, because just a Toyota in many cases is actually premium, because we know most Toyotas traditionally have been very, very reliable. And you can't fault a Toyota most times, other than this new 3.4 V6, which seems to be a catastrophe. Most Toyotas are pretty reliable. I heard 250. Yeah, it's probably going to be up in that range. Probably going to be around there for sure. And yes, here in C from Ottawa, we are in the start of a winter storm, but that is not unusual from Ottawa. Yeah, you guys got to batten down the hatches. I know Canada seems to be like, whether you're in the east, whether you're in the west, like over here, we're in the prairies, we're getting hit with the severe, severe weather. So yeah, hold on tight. Hold on to your hats and hold on and dress warm over there in Ottawa. I know we are here. We're trying to really keep things tidy here too. So, but let's keep moving. And let's scroll on through. So what is this? What's the scoop here? Well, the GR-GT looks to have mechanical limited slip differential. Obviously, limited slip is going to give you that potential for better handling. I mean, remember the old Mustang solid rear axle, brutal, fun, but not the best for handling. And so if you have limited slip differential, generally you get better performance from the handling standpoint. Tire scorching shenanigans, big black burnouts, smoky donuts, eye-watering. I mean, with 641 horsepower, I mean, those are the numbers. I mean, just put this in perspective. We're talking Z06 numbers. We're talking McLaren 650S numbers. We're talking, current 911 turbo numbers. I mean, these are serious numbers. Ferrari 488 GTB numbers. These are comparable to some of the best supercars on the planet. I mean, 641 horsepower is no joke. So what do they say? Working on different driving modes. They wouldn't really say. A look at the steering wheel provides some clues via a knob on the right. So they're probably, see, Sport Boost. You'll notice they're looking at including some tech, kind of getting some ideas. I don't want to say any other than getting ideas, but Porsche's big on that. They have their nice, Sport Chrono pack. They have all of their controls and the sport modes and all of those knobs and buttons. And it seems like they're kind of going after a similar feature. Mirroring this button for traction stability labeled TRC, VSC, the words off, yikes. Do you remember seeing, hey, Matt, that gentleman who rebuilds all those cars? You betcha. He's rebuilding that 296 GTS that went off the road. And I think it was somewhere, I don't know, in Europe. And I love that video because that features, you've got, some of the best journalists all kind of put together in that video talking about how you definitely don't want to turn off traction control in a car like a 296. But this will be the same thing, only on the track. But that really does allow for the shenanigans. So what do we have here? There will be a future higher performance models of the GR-GT, like Nürburgring Edition, Meister of Nürburgring, GTR, GT3 RS version. So there's going to be a series of different models the way it looks. And the beauty with that, I mean, let's be honest. And from the way I see this, I don't know this. These are insider at this point. But it seems to me Toyota is going to be slowly unraveling model after model. And that basically is going to be a lot what Corvette and Chevy was doing, right? They didn't hit it all at once. Like Ferrari, they didn't throw it all at once. They filter it in a little bit at a time so that you always want to get the next best thing and always makes you hunger for the next best car. Okay, so you can see the screen. Perfect. Sounds good. Appreciate that. Hate the EV hybrid pooper, I'll say. Is this going to be a limited edition like the LFA? Well, we'll get to that for sure. It sucks owning anything snowy in Winnipeg, construction in summer and in winter. I agree. In the prairies in Canada and Calgary, Edmonton, it's the same thing. I mean, all over Canada, unless you're living in, Vancouver or the Okanagan, you're probably, subjected to, ugly construction zones, which makes these cars challenging. But nonetheless, it's nice to be able to have something like this and be able to reach out and buy something like this if you can. What do you like better, Audi S8 or Volkswagen Golf R? Golf R Estate. Jai Singh, thanks, Jai. Appreciate you reaching out. What do I like better? I would say the Golf R. The Audis are cool cars. We've spoken about this before, Jai. I know I think for me, the Audis that I would own, and I did a video on that a while back, the RS3, unfortunately, well, it's restyled, but unfortunately, that's going to go away. The TTRS, gone. The R8, of course. I like the RS7. RSQ8's cool if you like SUVs. It's basically a Urus. But, I mean, if you're going for the larger estate, A8, S8 even, it's a totally different car when you're talking about the Golf R. But for me, my own personal driving enjoyment comes from driving cars more like the Golf R, something smaller, sportier, better handling, more nimble. I like the nimble cars because, let's be honest, the driving excitement comes from cars that give you the feedback, their direct handling, their response, they turn well, they brake well, they accelerate well. And to me, that's what a great car. There's a lot of big, fast cars, but they're big and powerful, and you feel so disconnected. And a car that makes you really feel dialed in. That's why everybody's saying, everybody, try to prove me wrong here on this one, but every reviewer is saying the 296 is way better than the SF90 in virtually every aspect. It's way more engaging. It's better looking. It's equally as quick virtually, other than out of the dig. But because it's smaller, it's more engaged, shorter wheelbase, better sounds. It's just more nimble. And so I would say, Jai Singh, I would probably lean to the Golf, but that's just me, right? And you'll save a ton of money doing that too. Okay, so let's go back to the article, shall we? Where looking ahead, see GT3 RS versions. There's going to be some really cool models out there. What else do we have? We have cars that are likely to lap the Nürburgring, and say the plan is to get a car that can finally crack that 7-second mark by a Toyota. That's ultimately the plan. I mean, when you look at some of the big numbers, the Mustang GTD at 652, ZR1 at 650. Apparently, these are posted numbers, not verified, but Corvette ZR1X at 649. These numbers, these cars are no joke. And so if you can get a Toyota that cracks the 7-second mark, you are in some serious heavy-duty company there. And so that's the plan, is to try to put it in the sub 7-second lap. Now the LFA, now we're talking about the LFA. Here's the LFA. And everybody's kind of curious about the LFA, and is it going to be limited production? Well, let's take a closer look at that. The LFA, if you love the look of it, how much it will be, prepare to be disappointed. Okay, the LFA isn't going to be exactly the same ingredients. They had the V10 high revving. It was kind of a clunky gearbox, but boy, the engine was just delightful. Several years from that, representative talked. So they're basically saying will have to be considerably less money than the old one, which debuted in 2010 at $375,000. And when it was finally produced on the outset of the market, it was $445,000 in the Nürburgring edition. Now, that was also, remember when the LFA came out, they said the Lexus and Toyota was losing a lot of money on every car that they produced because of the research and the development that went into it, unique engine. But see, the problem is there weren't enough produced. The production, manufacturing, design costs, but the production, they didn't sell enough to make their money, and so they were losing money on every car. But it sounds like the new LFA is likely going to be a little bit more affordable. What do you guys think? Anybody here feeling LFA? Anybody here feeling GTGR? I mean, and there's another car I want to touch on here before we're through here. Something that's a little bit more grounded and a little bit lower cost. We'll touch on here shortly. But anybody here loving this car so far? Anybody liking what they're seeing with the LFA or the GTGR? Like to kind of hear your thoughts on that. Okay, so what they're saying, allegedly, it needs to be less than $350,000 because it looks to be coming in at likely as an EV. Okay, now pump the brakes. It's an EV. Let's get into the details here. So we must talk about a couple of reasons. The market for luxury sports coupes is already minuscule. So they're basically saying it's a niche market. Supercars, sports cars, two-door cars are niche, very niche, small number sales. And so they've got to do something that kind of makes sense for the brand. No electric sport coupes north of 200 grand. They are a small handful of electrical luxury and performance cars over 200, including the Lucid Air Sapphire, the Spectra, and the Cadillac Celestiq, the Lotus Evija. And if you're talking 2.3 to 2.4 million, like there's all kinds of these big dollar supercar hypercars that are EVs, but nobody's buying them, right? So they've got to slot themselves in a place that makes more sense. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. They are talking that by this time, and we've heard Toyota talking about these new batteries, solid state batteries that are likely going to crack that 1,000 kilometer, 600-mile range. Quicker charge time, lighter weight. It's going to be a win-win-win. Toyota's been talking about this for a while. I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath. However, it continues to look promising. So that seems to be the solid state factor. Solid state batteries, a rumor at one at the event would confirm under direct questioning. So what they're talking about is Toyota has been kind of dabbling a little bit with solid state batteries since back 2020. I featured videos about this previous where they were talking about having different stages of that. The highest performance version having a quicker charge time and better output with longer range. But you're looking at the SSB arriving, so the solid state batteries, probably in 27 to 28 with a range of 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles and recharge times of only 10 minutes. Obviously, this kind of battery performance would represent a huge technological leap, which is exactly what Lexus may be looking for in a flagship sports car. The current best practice in global EV manufacturers is to put heavy battery cells bundled in packs or modules. This takes up space and real estate and weight and everything else. But this is the plan, is to kind of to offset that with batteries that are lighter weight, better range, quicker charge. I mean, it's a win-win-win. And, you know, from what I've seen, we know technology and batteries are getting better, and most people just are hating on EVs right now. And I mean, there's many great reasons why that is. That being said, you know, if you get to a point where some of these batteries, these EVs, you know, produce the power, you know, get the range, can cope in cold weather. I mean, the only limitation at that point really you have is the sound or lack thereof. So, what do we got here? The first is the all-aluminum space frame chassis shared between the GT, GRGT, GRGT3, and the LFA. Concept doesn't have a traditional floor pan ahead of the front firewall, but thick structural members instead. What little floor there snaps a compact 2-passenger cabin ending at the rear bulkhead ahead of the transaxle. So what do you guys think about that? LFA was too expensive and tight inside. Yeah, 100%. I got some smiles there. That's great. I agree. Like, it's definitely kind of interesting and intriguing here. And I'd be really curious once this actually comes out. I'm not even going to lie. You know what? I need to hear the rumble sound when I step on it. Mr. Turbo Rotary. Hey, I'm with you on that one. Why do you think the Jaguar F-Type, I owned an F-Type R up until a couple of years ago. Why? Because that's the best sounding exhaust note with a little bit of supercharger whine packed in there for good luck. That is one of the best sounding cars still you can buy today. Are there better cars out there? Probably, but it's better than a lot of cars. Sports cars, it's absolutely immense. Yeah, I get it. The V8 sounds, the V6 turbos, all the blow-off noises, whistles. Those are great noises. V10s, V12s, Ferraris, Lambos. I mean, those cars, Those engines are legendary, and it's always because it always really boils down to the heart, right? It's always boils down to the engine, and the drivetrain is why they're doing so well, why people love those cars, why they're so popular, and why the value's just kind of hanging. Now, as these OEMs continually transition to more and more EVs, you know, that there's a bigger desire to buy those ICE vehicles, thus driving prices up. Okay, so let's take a look here. See, and under the cabin floor, perhaps the batteries would occupy the room in the engine bay, transmission tunnel, and cargo area. Once the GT3's hybrid V8 powertrain is removed, the use of T-shaped battery packs have been popular with the aftermarket EV swappers. So anything is possible. So they're looking at kind of, there's some thoughts, some early theories as to how this might look. The GR-GT looks to has an all-aluminum engine, forged internals, pistons, cross-plane crank. Hey, these are numbers that these facts we're hearing a lot with the Corvettes and that, right? You know, boosted to twin turbos, resting in the valley, so hot V, kind of like we're seeing in the SF90, the 296, hot Vs, BMW with the what the heck are we talking about here? They're twin turbo 4.4 anyway. Resting in the valley, 90 degree to a claimed 641 horsepower and 627 pound-feet. All the output is sent via drive shaft enclosed in a carbon fiber reinforced plastic torque tube to a bell housing in the back of the vehicle that contain the hybrid system electric motor and 8-speed transmission. See, we get an 8-speed auto torque converter. We get twin turbo V8. We get 640 horsepower. So you throw a little electrification on there, it sounds like a little extra oomph, right? Polished shafts, gear sets, you know what? Hybridized horsepower forward to a mechanical limited slip that portions out the rear wheels to half shafts. Why the complicated U-turn? The powertrain engineers claim it needs overall length of the power. It just needs the space, right? It needs the space. It's a complex drive system, so it needs the room. Toyota's remained very vocal about its hybrid strategy, and quite honestly, this promises to be a very exciting car. I mean, look right here. What an exciting car that we're looking at and embarking on. Now, that being said, I'm going to X this up and I'm going to continue on here because there's some other thing that I want to mention. What do I think of the new, say, 2025, 26 Mazda line of SUVs, generally speaking? Are any of them worth the cost? Yes. Yes, they are. I think Mazdas are right now some of the best SUVs you can probably find on the market. The CX-90, CX-70, big, luxurious. They've had some programming issues, some recalls, vehicles that would shut off and then wouldn't restart. There's been some glitchiness there. But they're sampling that inline six, and it's working out well. But the thing is, with even the smaller vehicles like you get the GT or turbo version in the CX-30. That's one of my personal faves for subcompact, sporty, little sleek little thing. The CX-5 and the CX-50. CX-5 is more conventional, kind of RAV4 size and look, or CRV kind of feel. But it's slicker front end. It's a slicker looking vehicle, in my opinion. Lots of features, lots of tech. Not overload, though. See, that's the difference. They're not going full overload like some of their competition. And that's where I like Mazda. They've got a torque converter auto. They've got systems on board, 6-speed autos or 6-speed manuals in some of their cars. I like that. I like that simple. Their engines, 2.5 inline 4 or a turbo 4 with a 2.5. They're both exceptional. And so, yeah, 100%. CX-50 is one of my favorite right now. I would personally go with the turbo, the GT. They're faster, 240, 250 horse. They're fun, they're quick, they're punchy. But above all, they don't have cylinder deactivation. That said, some say that there's a little bit of an oil consumption issue with the turbos. So if that's a concern and you like to keep it simple, you can go NA with the 2.5s. Again, there were some generations that they didn't have the cylinder deactivation, but apparently it's a tech that's sort of been established in all of their models here recently. So it's Yeah, I would strongly suggest Mazda. As a matter of fact, if you're looking for that mainstream, I would say Mazda is probably the one of my go-tos right now. Honestly, if I'm looking for kind of an everyday vehicle that has enough of the safety tech, there are fresh revisions, which by the way, there's been some great updates for this year for the CX-5. Bang on. The interior updates have been nice, much improved. Center display system and tech has been improved, and reliability seems to be worked and improved. The vehicle itself is a little bit larger too, so they've done some nice updates. I would definitely look at that. The only thing that I don't like about Mazda is the info screen. It doesn't have a touch screen, but instead a rotary button. Yeah, I think that's changed now for the next generation. And Scott Jones says, why are you in a bird cage? I don't know. I feel like I'm in a cage. This is what it was like, working when I work in 9 to 5. I felt like I was in a cage. But no, this is actually an egg chair. Believe it or not, I can just chill. This is a chair. See, like that. So we're just chilling like a villain and enjoying the warm indoors. Well, I'm looking outside. I'm seeing seriously cold weather out there. But anyway, 2.5, no turbo. So yeah, and that's a good simple setup. It's going to be pretty reliable. Like I said, you've got the torque converter auto there. So that would be one of the go-tos, I would say. And the hybrid versions now are the same as the RAV4 hybrid. So what can you say? It's the reliability is there with Toyota, maybe even better in some models. Certainly than Honda with their 1.5s. They've had some problems. So these are all very cool choices. Mazda, I like them. But let's take a quick boo at this. See, Toyota, look at this. Toyota stokes MR2 revival rumors with multiple trademark filings. Look at this, everybody. What do you think of that? Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Should we look at, let me just share that here for you. I'm going to share that. I'm going to show you this. What do you all, everybody? Come on. Let's be honest. What do you think? What do you think about the MR2? Anybody? Any comments? That looks to be something new and fresh coming off the press. Maybe. I used to love the MR2. I was in love with those cars when they came out. The old supercharged 4-banger. And then later they came with their 2-liter turbo. What a gorgeous car. So Toyota looks like they're really lighting the fires here. They're really taking it to the competition. So we'll be called GR-MR2, GR-MR2S, MR2. So there's some debate as to what the plans are for the nomenclature, the name, but it effectively looks to replace what we know formerly as the MR2 with a small mid-mounted engine, sporty car, 2-door, rear-wheel drive. It's going to be a fun little hot rod. So they're looking at patents there. So remember this little unit? Not a big fan of the Spider. That was one that I didn't care for too much, but I did like, honestly, I did like the some of the other ones. They're great cars. The MR2 looks awesome. 100% it does. I love that thing. Looks just like an old LFA. Beautiful car. So really, this comes down to conversation. I mean, just when we thought, and I'm going to put this out there, and I'd like to hear your comments down below. Just when we thought we were in the midst of this crappy EV revolution or evolution that a lot of us we're looking at, we're hearing, these OEMs are pushing and jamming these EVs down our throats, and we're like, getting enough with that. Bring me something that's cool and fun and fast that makes some noise. That's where I truly think if you want to find the best of both worlds, plug-in hybrids, like a Ferrari. And, I still say the 296 is probably one of the best cars they've had for a long time. McLaren kind of missed the boat, in my opinion, on the Artura, but every manufacturer is looking at incorporating the internal combustion engine with a form of electrification, and maybe not going pure EV, but creating some of the benefits, but adding much benefit in other ways, extra oomph, extra boost, those EV push you're getting from the batteries to give you a lot of extra thrust. I'm excited. Let's be honest. When we thought these EVs were going to be the future, what we're starting to see now is companies like Toyota coming out of nowhere with these sports cars. And I'm super stoked about it. Super stoked to hear BMW. Same thing. They've continued further development of their internal combustion engines. We're hearing about Benz going back. They're talking about bringing back in their AMGs, bringing back some of their muscle again because the turbo fours and hybrids are just crap and nobody wants that shit. But you know what? It's as many people that want the EVs, this many people want something that still sounds cool. And I think that's where this trend is going. I agree with that. Yeah, like I mean, tech. I hate to say this. I do agree. We're in a world of too much tech. I think tech overload, and I think that I think in some cases we've gone too far. You know, I was watching Harry's Garage there the other day, and I was watching a video he did with the 296, and I couldn't help but really focus in on the fact that he loved the car immensely. It was a performance monster. It was spectacular. But the one thing that he said was, you know, the haptics and capacitive controls, too much tech, but more importantly was the ADAS, the, you know, the driver assistance systems and programs that he says, this is a Ferrari, man. What do you care about, you know, lane departure and all? I mean, this car is, you're dialed in, you're focused, and that's the way a car should be, a car that's an enthusiast car. So back off. If any of these car manufacturers are listening up, and probably none of them are, you guys have better, your CEOs, you guys got all kinds of busy things collecting your $30 million paychecks. But listen up. If any of you are listening and you happen to be working at the top levels of some organization that's looking on your research and development and you have some influence on what kind of product line is coming out next, take it from me and take it from all of these people and many others who are going to watch this video as it goes online. Enthusiasts still want those enthusiast cars. It's cool to build something for the pedestrian. You know, traffic. A lot of people are just traffic. They need to get to work and school and so on. That's cool. You build that shit and build volumes of that garbage. But reduce the tech. Get rid of some of that stuff. Some of it's mandated, but honestly, get rid of some of the tech. Hey, crank windows. I'm good with that. I don't know about the rest of the crew. I'm good with crank windows, Lexan windows. Hey, cool. I'd rather go lightweight, less technology, less shit to go wrong. I don't need power seats. You know what? The Ferrari out there in the garage actually has a sliding seat. I pull the handle and it slides on a rail. I don't need a power heated, cooled seat. I just need simple and effective. So at least we are not forced anymore by the old government to buy EVs. It seems like it's getting kind of pushed out. And, you know, I mean, who knows? By 2050, 2060, like who knows where we'll be. But honestly, most of you, if you're in your, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, you think, okay, even if you're in your 20s, by the time 30 more years down the road, maybe they push that mandate out to 2050, 2060. By the time you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, who gives a shit, right? At that point, I don't. But realistically, for now, let's keep these fun cars with noisy engines and practicality. That means that we're not locked into taking our cars in for a basic brake job like the Ioniq. You guys hear about that bullshit? Having to take your vehicle in because you can't replace the brake pads yourself in some of these new vehicles. They're actually really pushing and trying to promote the hands-off approach for you and me, our owners of these cars, to do our own servicing. I mean, they're doing more and more of that. You need expensive $15,000, $20,000 diagnostic equipment. It's overloaded with technology and modules. You can't even change your own brake pads on some of these cars now because you need a special piece of equipment to log on and retract it electronically because you'll blow a seal or you just can't retract the caliper to insert some new pads. It's absolute bung. Some cases, they don't even want you changing oil yourself. They don't want you to do any of that maintenance yourself. And I'm a DIYer, and I know a lot of you are too. So that's why a lot of people are going back to the old simple shit. Again, if you're a manufacturer, if you work for an OEM, any of you, anybody watching here right now, if you're working for an OEM and you have and you're a place of influence, back off on that stuff because I promise you, people will reject it like they've rejected some of the EVs. Look what's happened to Tesla and the Cybertruck. Nobody wants it. I mean, there's a few. Yeah, they're out there. You always see that because it's something new and fresh, but sales have gone through the toilet. And so what I would say is if you have a place of influence, at least let's go back to a simpler time, just a little bit. I mean, can we not back up the train a little bit? Open up the doors. Remember when back in 2000, I think it was 2003? No, 93. Sorry, not 2003. 93 when OBD2 came out as a protocol to standardize the troubleshooting ability for anybody to get in and log in. Didn't matter if you had a standard code reader. I could even do it with an app and I could log into any car. Any car. I didn't, if you have a BMW, an Audi, a Ford, a Honda, you could log in. OBD2 standardized the protocol, allowed any mechanic and even do it yourself or to repair your own car. But I feel like this is a trend that we're losing. We're losing the ability to get back to brass tacks. And I know mechanics out there are going to say, well, you guys don't know how to work. You don't go to school for this stuff. You don't get the right training. Well, I'll promise you this. You're right. A journeyman mechanic who's good at his craft is worth way more than his weight in gold. However, you and I think the rest of us all know that half the time you get some rookie first year who doesn't give a crap about the customer's car, bags it, jumps in it, makes a mess, and he's the guy, he's just not giving a shit. Can't tell you how many times I've picked up my car after service, something was missing, broken, dirty, and it was in worse shape than I dropped it off. We've all had that experience. We've all been screwed by the service department. I expressed that as well with my Toyota. Oh yeah, here's a checklist, tire rotation, oil change. None of it wasn't done. And we found out because we ended up digging deeper, but I shared that on a video. And if you're all interested in checking it out, be sure to check out my Toyota service scam exposed video. Be sure to go back and check that out. But realistically, I mean, let's be honest, a little simpler so we can get back and get our fingers dirty. Otherwise, people are they're not going to, pedestrians are always going to buy. There's always going to be those sleepy Joes and the sheep that are going to buy, pedestrian cars, traffic, if you will. But that's fine. Cars that are throwaway, a $22,000 Hyundai is a throwaway car. And you're always going to have people buying that shit. And as long as you know it's throwaway and your intentions are, I don't need a car that's going to get me to 300,000 miles. As long as it's priced accordingly, the consumer knows that, it's well exposed, then who cares? But when you're selling a car for $85,000, $90,000, a person has to take out an 8-year loan to pay for this damn thing, and the warranty's gone in 3 years, and the thing starts breaking down in 4. Hello? Anyway, thanks for the comprehensive response to my question about Mazda SUVs. You betcha. So, any other thoughts, anybody, before I get out there? Anybody want to get excited about maybe some hybrid V8 twin turbo Toyota GR-GT, GT3, LFA? I'm excited. Super excited. Power to weight better than a GT3 911. It looks cool, sporty. It's something fresh. And let's be honest, if Toyota does it right, they'll have reliability that will keep that thing running for hundreds of thousands of miles. Try that with a McLaren. So, that's it. I'm super stoked. I can't wait. But we're looking at maybe 27, 28. We're still a couple years out. But if you're thinking about buying a car like this and you think, okay, for $250,000, that's a lot of beans. It might be multiple trips to the bottle depot, right? Pull up your shorts, get that second job, put some money away, skip on some haircuts, put that money in the bank and let it build some compound interest anyway. Do whatever it takes. Put that money away so when that car shows up, that you have the ability to buy it. Now, here's the catch. I've heard, I don't know this for a fact. None of this is really truly factual in my opinion. I think it's so much is so early. Just like the solid state battery conversation is quite it's quite early because they're not doing it yet. Rumor has it you may not see these actually show up in the showroom. It's one of those things you're probably going to have to kick some tires, go knock some doors down at the dealer, and stay engaged with one of your favorite Toyota dealers and try to figure out when these dates are earmarked and see if you can get on that list. Because I suspect it's going to be one of these things that it's going to be lower numbers. They're not going to sell them in mass abundance. Well, maybe the MR2 will, but cars like the GR-GT might not. It's going to be lower production likely. And I promise you it will be they will be scooped up. So you might want to start sniffing around your local dealership, maybe start asking some questions. I think we're going to be a little early here again, but if they're talking about it now, they already have some vision, some pictures. They clearly already have specifications out there that are being advertised with that V8. There's clearly some, what is it called? DBM, design basis memorandums. They have some theories, probably some design standards already in place. They probably have a set of drawings, and maybe they have some specs already laid out. So they're well under their way. I hope they can make small cars again. Vehicle in general are getting bloated. So agree with that. You know, the other day I was driving around in a Nissan Sentra SR, and I was doing a review on that. Actually, I love that. It was a fun little car. CVT, not a fan, but you know, the rest of the car is cute. But I'm sitting in traffic. To one side, I got this Cadillac Escalade. The other side, I get a lifted up Chevy pickup truck. And behind me, I get this bloated QX80. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, these vehicles all roll over me on this. You know, so vehicles are getting huge, ginormous, heavy. And I agree. I like having small cars, but the problem is the industry as a whole is creating a bigger, longer, fatter, heavier car, loaded and bloated with more technology. So that seems to be kind of the way the industry's headed. But there seems to be some manufacturers going back. I mean, look at Ferrari and the 296. You know, they kind of went. You know, the 488. They had the cars like the 360. 458, wow, 360, 430, 458, then the 488, and every generation F8, they got longer, wider, bigger, longer, wider, heavier. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, stop that noise. And they went 296 and they shrunk it down. So it shrunk a little bit of the size. But yeah, I'd like to see more and more cars manufacturers getting back down to smaller, simpler cars that aren't just trash throwaway, but maybe cars that have quality drivetrains, quality components, knobs, buttons, parts that feel like they're going to last, tactile, that are going to last a long time. And it'd be good to see more and more of those vehicles come out to market again. But you know what? Again, everybody, I really appreciate everybody stopping by. Again, as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to check out the review over on 6-Speed Car Reviews, 6-Speed Reviews, that Nissan Sentra right over there. I'm going to share that link for you. And again, as always, check that one down there. You're going to love that video. Hope to see each and every one of you real soon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.